Welcome to my vlog. I'm talking like I'm excited as if something interesting has happened. And I guess it is interesting. Today was a good day. I had an interview for a bakery. It was a walk-in sort of interview, like an open interview opportunity where they had a time set up for people to get interviews, and I was able to get there and I was able to get an interview. It's a little long of a trek, not too bad, but I had to go to the local bus station, take a couple buses, and then get there. But if I had the bike going and I had the bike path ready, it would have been quite a bit faster, actually. And I think definitely take a bike if I get a job. Probably won't get the job, but if I get the job, I'll be taking the bike there because it's much faster, and then the buses don't run very well on the way back. The bus is efficient enough to get there, but on the way back, for some reason, it's a lot slower and clunkier. I don't really understand that. But walking is faster on the way home, but the bus is faster on to the way there. It's like, some roads, you only walk one direction, you can't walk the other direction. Those little restrictions, or at least that's what Google says. I'm sure I could technically walk the same way on both directions, but it's definitely not recommended by maps to walk there as fast as I can walk back. That's one of those things that happens. Like, some roads are labeled, not incorrectly, but maybe they're labeled as being unsafe or risky to walk across, and then you don't want to do that. Sometimes Google is wrong, but I want to trust them. I want to believe they know what's best, even though they probably don't. So yeah, this is my newest vlog. We're talking about the job that I don't have yet because I had an interview though. I filled out a little application, had the open interview situation, talked to them for a little while and got more information about the company. It's a cookie store. I love cookies. I don't know much about cooking them. I mean, I used to bake cookies pretty often. Like, my mom actually used to pay me to bake cookies for her band. I guess I was good at making cookies. She would pay me like it was a decent wage by 2008 standards to bake a bunch of cookies for her and her friends and stuff. It was a little interesting, a little weird. I did that, I guess, but I like to get paid, and I like making cookies, and I got to eat some too. So if I got paid to make cookies for an actual job, that'd be cool, I guess. But I don't know if I'm the best at that. I mean, I haven't cooked in quite some time. You're probably aware of that. I mean, I mostly eat snacks at home. Most of my food comes from restaurants or grocery stores. Like, my idea of a cheap meal is spending $5 on fast food. I don't know if it's that inefficient though. I know it's less efficient than if I knew how to cook and stuff, but I think it's not that much worse than to cook, or I think eating out is not much worse than cooking when you live alone, you're not a good cook. But if I was a good cook, it would definitely be better to cook food instead of eating out. And if I actually knew how to cook enough to impress a woman, that'd be a good thing, but I don't. I don't know enough about cooking to impress anyone, not even myself. So yeah, that's the story today. I had an interview, and it went well enough, and I'll find out in the future. I don't have a timeline for that, but there will be callbacks or whatever. If they're interested, I'll probably hear back. If not, they're not interested, I'm not taking any news. But maybe I'll get an email or call saying that they were going in that direction. But it wasn't an actual official interview in that I didn't get it set up by them with a recruiter or like a manager. I just was told to come into the walk-in hours, and I did, and then I got an interview on the walk-in. Or I guess it's open interviews, the open hours, you call it. That's what they call them these days. Open interview. It was like you a 2-hour window. You get there during that 2 hours, you can get an interview immediately. Even if you didn't fill out, then you fill out a little application, you get the interview, and that's how things are. It's not too bad, I guess. It wouldn't be a livable wage with the hours and the pay that they would offer, but it would be better than not working. I mean, anything's better than not working. I guess other than working for an evil corporation that murders people or something. I'd rather not work than be like a gangster or like a terrorist or something, but I would not want to do either of those things. But I'd rather work almost anywhere than not working, which is the current situation. The current situation is not great where I don't work. That's 100% my fault. I had a decent job with excellent benefits. The pay was underwhelming. The work was decent and somewhat challenging, but doable. But then, due to the whole stress with the Oklahoma debacle, I just couldn't focus anymore. I probably should have never gone to Oklahoma. I think that was one of the biggest mistakes I ever made, going to Oklahoma. I knew going in it was some sort of prank or setup, and I did it anyway. I guess if I could do that again, I probably wouldn't. But at the same time, it got me out of my apartment for more than a day or two, which is actually surprising. Usually, I think the longest, haven't taken a vacation in a while until to Oklahoma. Adjusting my glasses, I often do. It had been 2.5 years from March 2023 to September 2025 without an actual vacation other than visiting family for a day or two. The last time I took a plane, actually it isn't even longer yet before that. I had gone from July 2019 to March 2023, almost 4 years without taking a single plane flight. I did not, during the peak COVID, even a couple years after, I never took a plane. I mean, I went in cars with other people and stuff. I did not fly anywhere for almost 4 years. I guess vacations aren't really part of my life. I mean, flying in general is not something I really do very often. I'm not afraid of planes or air travel. I just don't go anywhere very much. I'm pretty much a homebody or an apartment body maybe because I live in an apartment, not at home. But it's sort of my home. I've made it my home with messiness and disorganization. And it's a nice place. I like this apartment. Going off on a little tangent here. They're nice, and I haven't gotten any trouble whatsoever, other than the threatening text from random 510 numbers accusing me of feral screaming and other complete bullshit like that. That's part of the package, though, when it comes to being me. I get phony texts from random numbers occasionally. I am toxic to them, which encourages further numbers to contact me. If I just blocked them and never responded, they'd probably end there. But since I respond to them and I'm very abusive in return for their abuse, I get further communication from those people. I need to learn to stop being toxic to general. I need to stop fighting fire with fire. I should either ignore it entirely or just stay calm, and I don't do that. That is why it continues. Every few years, I guess. I mean, it's not like a constant thing, but I have gotten barrage with random abusive texts over the years. Usually, it's either like a Chicago number, beef jerky being a douchebag, or some random 650 or 510 number abusing me, whatever. Falsely accusing me of terrible things. The fact is what comes. It's like being me. You know what it's like to be me. Isn't that a song from Britney Spears? Yeah, I have a song. It says it's Britney Spears, what it's like to be me, but it's actually a Michelle Branch song. I was wondering, why is this Britney Spears song good? Oh wait, it's Michelle Branch. Michelle Branch is one of those celebrities I like. Of course, I like a lot of irrelevant celebrities. I mean, Michelle Branch is not that irrelevant, but she's not exactly like a huge star anymore. I like her music. I like her looks. I like a lot of women that haven't been that big deal in like 20 years. I think 20 years ago, my life was a little better. I had a job. I had a girlfriend for most of that time, and I had a car. Now I have none of those things. So yeah, this is my vlog. This is my story, my life. Speaking of Southern accent. Speaking of Southern accents, my first girlfriend, Angie, she spoke in a Southern accent, even though she had never lived in the South ever. She sounded like a typical Southern woman, more than actual Southerners I knew at the time. She sounded like the most Southern woman I'd ever heard. She sounded like a parody of a movie from the 40s, whatever it is, the Gone with the Wind. She sounded like she was actually from the South. If people ask me, is your girlfriend Angie, is she from the South? I'm like, no, she's in Sunnyvale. And they'd be surprised. Everyone thought she was from the South. So yeah, this is my story, this is my vlog, and we are gonna continue. We're gonna just look around. I know I've been asking Grok for advice on how to do vlogs, and I don't trust Grok very much. I mean, I probably shouldn't share any information with Elon and his toxic world, but I ask Grok questions. I ask Grok random stuff. I get relevant or incorrect replies. Sometimes it generates random bogus information. I ask it random questions. And I think it's making shit up. I don't think it actually knows what it's talking about half the time. I think it just draws conclusions or jumps to conclusions based on random evidence. I think it just looks at your inquiry or query and then riffs off that and comes up with a bunch of random junk. I mean, AI is often unreliable, and I'm unreliable too. At least I'm not unreliable, I'm rather inconsistent. One day I'm happy, other day I'm sad. Once I'm manic, next I'm depressed. One day I'm happy and arrogant, next day I'm fishing for compliments by putting a false sense of insecurity. That's what I do, and I shouldn't do that, but I do it. And we are finally out at over 8 minutes.